Hey, life's got no shortage of stories, awkward moments, unexpected twists, and those did that really just happen moments. Here on Cat Stories, we've packed a few into every video. My name's Kathleen and let's get into it. And for our next post, would I be the idiot for sending my boss an article on how to give better constructive criticism? My 24F work as a receptionist at a busy medical center. I've been there for 3 years and I'm pretty good at my job. However, in the past few months, with new staff, a new system, and working less has led to me making a few mistakes with booking. These are due to lapse of focus and are generally quite easy to fix: double booking, booking the wrong room for an appointment, etc. It's my fault entirely. I take full responsibility. This is no excuse per se, but more reasoning for why these mistakes happen. Our booking system is quite confusing. For example, the type of appointments we offer on different days constantly changes, the interface is really slow, so sometimes your changes don't save, etc. Anyways, the long and short is I am making some silly mistakes at a rate of approximately 1 per week. My boss makes sure I know of this. Every single mistake I make, she sends me a long paragraph detailing the mistake and reminding me of how long I've been here for and that I should know this by now and that I keep making mistakes. It's annoying, but I usually just take it on the chin and move on. It's my fault anyway, so I just fix the issue and avoid doing it again. My issue is that recently she has started to undermine my character while giving this feedback. I'm currently studying to be a doctor, and she frequently mentions, "You're going to be a doctor one day. If you make mistakes like this when you're a doctor, they will cancel your registration," and other snide comments about my character, intelligence, competence, and how it will affect my future career. It's getting to the point where I'm starting to tear up, even though I try not to let it affect me. Apart from this constant criticism, she is a good boss. She is accommodating, reasonable, it pays well, and she even gives us gifts for the holidays. It's just her inability to be kind when she criticizes me, or even give any sort of praise for when I do the right thing, which I have a problem with. I recently came across a well-written article on a blog called 7 Tips for Providing Constructive Feedback to Your Team. I think it would genuinely be really helpful for her to read. Also, I haven't responded to her latest critique session of me, and I think this would be a nice helpful response. Though I'm worried it will come across as passive-aggressive. Link to the article is below: https://www.neural.com. Constructive feedback. I would really appreciate any suggestions on how to approach this situation. Sometimes I find it hard to understand people and big emotions I feel like this, so any guidance is hugely appreciated. Thank you. And for our next post, am I the idiot for moving someone's food out of the office microwave so I could use it? So I 25F work as a nurse at a doctor's office. Our office is hard to explain, but basically there's the business office section, a specialty clinic long-term post-op, and another specialty clinic chronic disease management that is separate from the first. We all work for the same company, but don't work closely together daily. I work in the chronic disease management clinic. I'll call the 2 clinics post-op and CDM for clarity. The 2 clinics have their own patients and do not overlap at all, so all 3 sections share bathrooms, break rooms, a lounge area, water fountain, kitchen, etc. This literally happened like a year ago, but I cannot stop thinking about it. I am an hourly employee, so I clock in and out for lunch. I'm in graduate school, so I spend my hour lunch doing homework, listening to lectures, etc., and that time is invaluable to me to be able to work full-time while being in school full-time. I'm also required to go to lunch from 11:3000 to 12:30 every day. Anyways, one day I clocked out for lunch at 11:30 and went to the kitchen to heat up my food. All 3 of the microwaves were being used, except one of them had food in it that was already heated up. Timer had gone off and no one was standing next to it. I waited for about 5 minutes. No one came to get it. I asked the other people in the kitchen break room if it was their food, and no one claimed it. So, being on a timed lunch, I took the food out of the microwave and placed it on the counter so I could use the microwave to heat up my lunch as the other 2 were still in use. As I am waiting for my food to heat up, one of the nurse practitioners, Jewel from the post-op clinic, not my clinic, who I had never spoken to, came into the break room to get her food. It was her food that I had taken out and placed on the counter. I was on my phone, so I wasn't really paying attention when she came and grabbed her food and just said okay, and walked away swiftly. Ever since then, Jewel does not speak to me, doesn't say hi, has never introduced herself, will not make eye contact with me when talking in a group, etc. One of the medical assistants who works in my clinic, Melissa, has befriended her, and so Jewel comes over to my clinic pretty often to chat with Melissa. It sounded like they had known each other for years, so I asked Melissa if they knew each other outside of work. She said no, they just met here at the office. As I am sitting right next to them chatting, I'll sometimes laugh at their jokes or make a few random comments, and Jewel just completely ignores me, will not even glance in my direction, and pretends I don't exist. Now, I feel like Jewel has something against me for the microwave situation, as it has been over a year since that happened and her behavior towards me has not changed. So, am I the idiot for moving Jewel's food to heat up mine? And for our next post, am I the idiot for not paying my friend back $10? My 35F friend and I 35F went to a show together. I was super excited about seeing the show and originally was going to go by myself, but my friend decided the day before the show that she'd be able to join me. She asked for me to pay for her ticket and she'd pay me back when we got to the show. I agreed and just paid for her ticket. The tickets cost $30 each without tax, fees, etc. Before we got to the show, I found out that we'd have to pay for valet parking if we parked at the show. Neither of us wanted to do that, so she suggested that I drive to her place. We take an Uber from there and we split the cost of the Uber. I agreed but suggested that since she owed me $30 for the ticket, I bought her to use the $30 for my half of the Uber so she didn't have to pay me back. She asked what if the Uber came up to more money, and I said we'd split the difference and I pay the rest of my half. The Uber there cost $20 and the Uber going back to her place cost $30, totaling $50 altogether. I had had a couple drinks at the show and was pretty tired, so when she showed me her math, she subtracted $30 from the $50, then split the remaining $20 in half and told me I owed her $10. I agreed to it without thinking about it, then left to go home. The next day she reminded me that I owed her $10. I realized that the math she applied was not the right math and told her. I reminded her that we agreed to split the Uber, so I would have owed her money only if my half was over $30. The math should have been 50 divided by 2 equals 25, and since I only owed $25, not $30, I didn't owe her an additional $10. After I said I wasn't going to pay her the $10, she then texted me if I didn't have the money I should have just said so. I replied, it's not about the money. She applied the wrong math, so I truly didn't owe her anything. She then began to say that I was gaslighting her and taking advantage of her by making her pay for the whole Uber by herself. I tried in multiple different ways to explain that this was not the case, but she did not want to hear any of it and refused to talk to me about it. I called a mutual friend and the friend says I should have just paid her the $10 since I initially agreed to it, which is why I think I may be the AH. TLDR, I may be the AH because I agreed to pay my friend $10 even though splitting the Uber ride showed that I didn't owe her $10 and actually paid her more than required, so I refused to pay her the next day. And for our next post, am I the idiot for being rude to my house helper? For context, I live in a country where having house helpers is common. I'm a minor and my parents are not in the country. I live with my little brother and my sister, who is 1.5 years older than me, the house helper, and 2 female cousins. The house helper has worked for us for 2 years. My 2 cousins are around the same age as the house helper and they sleep in the same room, so they are closer to her than me and my siblings. So, on multiple occasions the house helper has gotten sick. She has a habit of staying up till 12 and using her phone in a dark room, then says she has a headache the next day. Sips meals, says her teeth, kidney, feet, head, hands, arms, stomach, legs, eyes hurt. Basically, she complains a lot. So much that I don't really believe her anymore. Whenever me or my sister are in the vicinity, she's always saying something about her in pain. She's in her 20s, but in the past year that she worked for us she has gotten a bit lazy. Like you'd expect that she would get used to it, but in the past year she has only gotten worse at doing chores. And she had extra work when she first started that she doesn't have to do anymore. In fact, her load has decreased, but she got worse, which I don't understand. And I hate chores. Like, I hate cleaning up after people, even my parents, but I do it for them anyways. I especially hate cleaning after the male species. And if you know anything about Asian African culture, You know that serving them is something you can't get out of. So whenever the house helper tells me to help her I ignore her. Like, I say I will do what she tells me to do, but I don't get up to do it in hopes that she will do it herself. I've done it multiple times. More times than I can count on two hands. I've done it to my mom as well, and she knows about my trick. It's something I do because I've been taught that saying no is disrespectful, and if I just say yes and don't do it, then I found out that they don't really nag me as much and they don't make a fuss. So, it's my way of getting out of chores. So, other than that, I am respectful to the house helper. She is older than me, and my two cousins help her around the house now. P.S. This was before she had help, and she always used to ask me for help when she could have asked my two other siblings. And even though I've done it to her multiple times, she still keeps asking me. Like, take a hint that I don't want to do it maybe. And if you ask me why didn't I just say no, I already said why above. I hate chores, and it's not something I can say no to in my culture. So, am I the idiot? And that's a wrap for today's stories. If you had a favorite or something similar happened to you, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. See you soon. Cat signing off.